Hello and welcome to Chilumi Architecture and Home Designs, a place where we teach you how to build your financial legacy using property as a vehicle. We're also about helping you build elegant, affordable homes and below market value. So in our previous video, we've looked at what financial legacy looks like, and if it built the right way, we see the benefits that it comes with. But also we've seen that if there's no plan at all, we see the repercussions that comes about, and we see how one suffers and the next generation suffers. So today I would like us to look at what building the right way looks like, but also looking at what building the wrong way looks like. So a person has a desire to build a financial legacy, but they end up building it the wrong way. So with that, I would like us to just share with you a few stories, true stories. As you are aware, I've been in the architectural industry for more than 2 decades, and I've had people come to me, particularly those who are in diaspora, both those who have left the continent, Africa, and those who are within Africa but have just moved from one country to the next. So they come to me and say, I should design them a particular house. And usually my first question will be, do you have a budget? Or what does your budget look like? And I don't know, for some reason, I don't know why most people tend to shy away to share what their budget looks like. And it's for the simple reason that I ask. If your budget is X, I'm able to easily tell and give guidance to say, for your budget, you are looking at a house within that particular range. And I want to help them so that when they start, they can finish with very little hassles. So this particular person comes and says, no, just design it. And I designed a very big house for him, and he sent it to his older brother. Now, I'm saying, why does this particular approach look and always comes out the most hard way, the most expensive way, the most unadvisable way to build? Is that for starters, you're in one country, you're sending your money to the next country, they impose on transfer duties, transfer costs on whatever you send. So every time you are sending, you've got those costs that attached to your transfers. But aside that, you realize that in most cases, the people who tend to seek help on the other side is they bring in a relative, it be a brother, it be a cousin, bring in a relative. And in most cases, they tend to pick up a person who is unemployed, and in most cases, you find that this person has not even worked in their life before. But what really gets my attention is the fact that there is this an invisible, informal kind of recruitment. You have brought a relative on board, but little did you realize that you've actually hired that person, and that person, you find that in most cases may not even be knowledgeable as far as construction is concerned. So you bring in this person on board, and unfortunately, in most cases, you find that you bring this person on board and you actually bring them at a managerial position, so to speak. You are in charge. You decide who will come to the project. You decide what material you're going to buy. You decide and here is the money. Go and build me a project. Yeah, most people tend to think that that is a most cost-effective way, but actually it's not. And let me explain myself. So one side, the person may be thinking, I bring in my relative, I don't actually have to pay them because they are my relative. And well, I can pay them as and when I give them something as and when my heart feels like. If the guy has done something, here's a cold drink for you. But do they realize, like I've said, that you've employed them and you've got to put them on a salary for the person to really concentrate, to really put in a lot of energies to your project. And the other person who's on the receiving side also feels this way. When this person is bringing me on board and is not rewarding me accordingly. And in most cases, you find that they may not be enthusiastic to participate in the project. Well, they'll be doing it because they're relatives and things really move. In most of the cases, it moves at a very slow pace. And so back to the scenario of this one client of mine. He hires his older brother, and his older brother is on the receiving side. So for for example, every 100 unit of money he sends, the brother receives, and he goes and buys 100 bags of cement. For every 100 units of money the guy sends, the recipient goes and buys every 100 blocks for building. And so it continued until at some point, this guy, I think he had his aha moment, and I'm sure he must have thought to himself, why do I have to receive the 100 units and go and buy 100 bags of cement? And no. So he later on would receive 100 units of money, and he goes and buys 50 units of cement, 50 units of blocks, and he would benefit from that money. And as time went by, I think he got so comfortable, and he would get to hire guys who would be very cheap, extremely cheap, so that he could recoup, he could collect more profit for himself. And it went on for some time. So on the other side, this guy begins to think, but why are we not finishing? And he kept on asking this question. Of course, he would get answers. But before too long, this guy, the recipient, his older brother, I think he must have had his second aha moment. He must have said to himself, why do I have to squander the money that I'm pocketing? And so he goes and buys his own stand, his own land, and he began to build. So whatever he would receive, 50% goes to his brother's project and 50% goes to his own project. And with that kind of conflict, guess what? He would obviously begin to focus most of his energy onto his project. And to even make matters worse, he would get best contractors or laborers to his project and get guys who were less competent on his brother's project. And to even go further, he would get to give the laborers 10 10 bags of cement, and because they are not well supervised, those laborers would use 5 bags of cement and 5 they pocket. So you can imagine the kind of substandard structure these guys were building. And it was very difficult. So at some point, this guy, he had depleted all his construction budget. He had still not finished, and he ended up getting some loans in order just to get money and finish the project. And so again, even the little money that he had borrowed could not finish the project. So he got bothered, and eventually he flew and went to site to find out why were things not really coming out right. And long story short, he found out the truth, and it was very difficult. But even when he had found the truth, he could not prove. So there was no way he could go and confiscate this other building, because he had no any way of proving that it was this was built using his money. And so at the end of the day, this guy stays with a substandard project, unfinished project, with a lot of debt. It was very difficult. And I think after 3 years or so, he had showed me some pictures of how his building was beginning to develop cracks. He was trying to ask me, how can I fix this? How can I fix that? So that was a very, very big loss. And he never recovered from that situation. And also there was another person a bit quite closer to me. This person also comes and says he wants to build, but first he asked him to go and find land. So he went, he asked his younger brother to get him land. So he went and got land, registered, and the younger brother sent him proof and title deeds. Look, you're now the sole owner of this particular land. So we got to design based on that, the perimeters of that stand. We got to design a very big house. And so he handed the plans to his younger brother, and he began to build. The same scenario, he would send the money and the guy would be building. And so at every milestone, the guy would send pictures. So this is what we've done, 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 until they had reached the roof level. So now the guy was trying to really understand. He was trying to compare the building plans versus the pictures that he was being sent to. At some point, he realized that the two were not really coinciding. So he tried to ask here and there. His younger brother was dodging. So but he could see, no, look, there's something wrong, but he couldn't just pick it up. So before he knew it, he flew and went home. So he was taken to site, and his younger brother was busy pointing, and so the guy wanted to go in the house. So his brother was trying to stop him and said, no, it's for security reasons, safety reasons rather. You can't go in. And say, look, I've flown all the way. I can't just come and see the property from a distance. Let me go in. Let me see what I've been spending. So as he was trying to go in, a certain gentleman approached him. Hey, well, can I help you, sir? So no, this is my house, and these are my guys that are working for me, and the gentleman politely told him, oh, look, this is my house, and I'm the one who has been building this particular property from ground up. And so he was shocked and couldn't believe what he was hearing. So he sat his younger brother down and asked him to explain what is this misunderstanding. And the younger brother unfortunately couldn't talk, so he got furious, and he took his younger brother to the police station. And so at least there they had him talk, and he told the truth, that actually he had squandered the money. The title deed was a fake. And so the guy storms out, he goes, and before too long, his mother learned what had happened, so she approached him and said, "Look, what is this that I'm hearing? They've thrown your brother in the cells." So he explained to her what had happened and how his younger brother had swindled him. And so it was a very sad situation. So after the mother heard the whole story, and but then she asked him a very important question, and she said, "So what would happen if you don't recoup your monies back? Are you going to leave your younger brother to rot in the cells?" I'm sure he was quite shocked. He didn't expect such a question. But long story short, the mother pressed him to release his brother, and eventually he released the brother. But in the end, he was the one who ended up apologizing to his mother. And so at the end of the day, this guy ended up with no product at all. So why am I telling this story? Am I trying to set a picture that we can't trust our brothers, our relatives when it comes to building? Well, certainly not at all, but I'm not also saying that should be ignored, because it always happens, and not really always happens. It often happens in many times, in many cases. And but then my point is this the only way that we could build using our relatives? Employing relatives who are not even versed in the construction field. I think that's the point I'm trying to drive at. At the end of the day, you want to build and finish. You want to build correctly and enjoy your product. So one of the things which we'll look at in the next video is how can you build the right way. But these particular scenarios I've just brought is to help us to say, look, at times this approach may sound and may look like to be most cost effective, but in the end, it is the most expensive and hard way to build. But there are better ways, and that's what we want to look at. So let's see that in the next video as we begin to unveil what building the right way would look like. But also before we go, I don't want to just look at the scenario of those in diaspora and paint a picture that those are the only ways that are the picture I've just painted. These are not just the only ways that we see one can build the wrong way, but also we see even a person who is within a country is staying in one state, is staying in one province, or is staying in one city, and is building in the next city. Usually those will be or face similar scenarios as those who are in diaspora, but the one who's within the country would have a better chance of building a better product. But then bottom line is, I'm trying to say, if you want to build a property, you've got to have the skin in the game. What do I mean? You've got to be part and parcel of the project. You can't just hand in to somebody, and somebody who is actually incompetent, who is not versed in construction, and you give all that responsibility to such a person. And generally speaking, you find that things will not go right. And but then usually the best solution will be if you can't participate. That is why you'd be encouraged to rather just go and buy a finished product and avoid all these hassles. So for those who still want to build the right way, the cheaper way, the correct way, let's see in the next video.